وكذلك أوحينا إليك روحا من أمرنا ما كنت تدري ما الكتاب ولا الإيمان ولكن جعلناه نورا نهدي به من نشاء من عبادنا وإنك لتهدي إلى صراط مستقيم صراط الله الذي له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض ألا إلى الله تصير الأمور.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to the program Muslims in America. The religion of Islam is the fastest growing religion in the world, and a majority of that growth is taking place right here in the United States of America. According to reliable estimates, there are more than 7 million Muslims in the United States of America. Muslims have become valuable and vital assets to the American society. So please join me as I travel around the United States of America and introduce you, my viewers, to a few of the many Muslims in America. We're here at the ISNA Educational Convention in Chicago, Illinois, and these workshops are geared to give some information and overview and workshops about how Muslims can better improve the Islamic education and the function of the Islamic schools. And I'm joined today with my brother Habib Qadri. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
And Habib, he's the principal of the MCC full-time school, which is the Muslim school. So Habib, I want to talk about your job as principal, but I want to talk a bit about your experience as an educator here in the United States and how you progressed to come and work in Muslim schools in an Islamic environment.
Yes, I was born in Chicago in 1974, and I went through the Chicago public school system from kindergarten to high school. There where I got the opportunity, I played many sports from high school and college basketball. So when I went in college, I did a lot of programs with the youth. You know, I was involved in our community. So through there, I had the experience of working with young kids, and in the weekend school, had taught them. And so when finally, when I got into college, I wanted to go into education, and really thought that the best thing for me is to start teaching. So I went into the public school sector first as a teacher, as a social studies teacher.
Now let me ask you now, because I mean maybe my viewers, they don't know much about the public school system and the environment of the public school, and then we can discuss that later in contrast to the environment we're trying to create in the Muslim schools. So tell us a bit about the environment and the way things are in the public school systems. And which state there were you teaching?
I was in Illinois, so I was in the city of Chicago, which has a big population of Muslims, about 300,000 Muslims. So I think that by itself helped out. So you know, the Chicago public schools, you know, the thing is you have your regular classrooms, you know, your math, science, social studies, English. It had its challenges because there are certain things, especially when growing up, when there was a few Muslims, it was tougher for prayer, for eating, to kind of when it was issues were from after school activities like dances and stuff, to trying to make those decisions and separate those. So that experience by itself, I think it was a little different, you know, when in the public schools. But I think you learn from a lot. You work with others, and you kind of learn a lot. So when I finally grew up and also taught, I wanted to go in the public school sector. You learn a lot, get all the different taxes and new resources and different methodologies that they have. Take that information, and also when Islamic schools started, to come and help and kind of implement some of those programs into the Islamic schools, where you get the best of secular education and also the best of the Islamic education, combine it together.
Right. Now, before we talk more about the Islamic education, in the public schools, in the classroom there's a setting, there's a syllabus, and there's something is taught. But what is the environment like outside of the classroom, you know, there, and how does that affect the work you're able to do inside of the classroom?
Yes. The outside, when we're in the public school, there was quite a bit, you know, to deal with. I myself on the Chicago public school system. So Chicago public school system was unique. There are about 540 schools, and in there you have a lot of different situations, minorities, and everyone blending together. So it was a melting pot. So there was great ethnicities and dealing and working together, diversity. But at the same time, there was a lot of other problems of, you know, gangs, drugs, different to deal with. You know, even when I as a school, public school, when I was teaching, you know, you had kids, you know, 15, 16-year-old kids who had kids, our drug use, and through that I started working with programs in high schools to as a big brother big sister for freshmen, because when we had now statistically 1 out of 4 kids had STDs in high school, or sexually transmitted disease, and when 40% of kids are using, at least had tried once, drugs. Those when I kind of open up and say, wow, there's a lot of stuff going on in the public schools, and where all this stuff is not affects anyone who lives there. It's not one specific group. It's not one specific minority. It's you're in the mix, and it's you're in this big pool, and everyone you could drown or you could swim, and it's something that we realize that there are tools and stuff that they're trying to work, and they're still remapping a lot in the public school sector, and so for Muslims, one of the biggest things I think the test Allah has put us here is more of the social aspect.
Right.
No one's going to put a gun to yourself and say you can't pray. You can pray, you can practice your religion, but now do you yourself want to practice that? Do you have things in front of you and say, hey, am I going to go to that party and drink? Or am I going to go out and date? That's a decision you yourself have to make. And in the public school sector, you have that in front of you. There's no one watching. It depends on how far, if there's a lot of Muslims, So that.
But let me ask you another question. You told me you were an assistant principal in a school, and now you are a principal of the MCC full-time school. Have you had any students you've seen go from the public school system to come to the Islamic school system and seen any changes in their behavior and their development?
I've seen some. Just even last year, we had a student who came there his last year, 7th grade, because he got himself in some trouble. And we when they do come to, we kind of put them on a academic and behavior probation.
And what does that consist of? First of all, what is the reason for that one, that you put them on this probation when they first come?
Just because also you have to realize that if a child maybe in the last year wants to come to our school, there's got to be something happening. Why? What did that individual do? And sometimes, when they come to the Islamic school and we want to work with students, we also have to look to ourselves and say, is this a person that can we influence them, our students, and we're really happy that they can. But there could be some individuals that they could influence others, bringing things that maybe some of our kids have never seen if they've gone through school since 2nd, 3rd grade here, that they might not see, from different, drugs to magazines to even some forms of music that maybe it's not that, which is kind of very shared quite a bit in some public schools to in a private school where CDs and stuff of 50 Cent, Tupac is not just kind of, hey, pass it on, check my new thing I just downloaded. So I think, and so when we wanted to make sure, so when we do sometimes have students that come, we do myself, I first interview them one-on-one by myself without their parents. Sometimes so that way I can kind of get a feel for the child. Like, do you yourself want to make some changes? Were you happy with
So you mean in the MCC school, it's not just automatic acceptance? You have to go through
an
interview?
We have an academic test and then also just an interview process, especially when they come in the last year or two. Because there's some red flags and say, so you decided...
Now let me ask you about the MCC school more specifically. How many students do you have in your school?
We have about 285 students.
Okay, and I guess you have an accredited program of subjects. Do you have many students who go on to college from?
Yes. We have many of our kids have gone on to various colleges, top-notch colleges. Even our standardized test scores, our national standardized test scores, we scored in the 86th percentile in the nation. So only in mathematics we scored in the 91st percentile in the nation. So our kids have done well, and so what we try to really focus on the academics, which we realize a lot of the parents already do have that focus. But the other aspect is of really the religion and the character base. It's really when you come out to produce not individuals who just yes, they exceed and excel in academics, but also in the faith, to have that balance.
But let me ask you a question, because that raises another subject. Unfortunately, there's some misunderstandings about Islam and Muslims. And some of that comes apart when we say we have Muslim schools and Islamic schools, because people are not quite aware of what's being taught, what's going on there. They think the kids are being indoctrinated into something which is wrong. So tell us a bit about what's taught in the Muslim schools and how that is not in conflict at all with the American society and culture and rule of law.
Yes, I think it's a great question, because you have your regular math, science, social studies, English. The 3 other subject areas, just like any Catholic school or a Jewish school, Judaic school, we have 3 extra classes, which one is Arabic, the language, which is our holy book is in. The second one is the Quran, and then the third is Islamic studies. And then Islamic studies would be Iman, Ibadat, and maybe Islamic history. So those are 3 extra classes that the individuals have. What we try to do is that, hey, when they teach that, they learn also the basics and the tenets of our faith, how to read and memorize of our holy book. But that's also still in that. We also try to do programs where we work with other schools. So we have like a pen pal, and we do interfaith programs with the Chicagoland Jewish High School, which is in Chicago, and another Catholic school called Loyola Academy. So where we do where we talk about our shared values, and then also we do a service project together where we want to clean the park together.
Right.
And in the month of Ramadan, we do what they call canned food drive, and we go ahead and give food to the Chicago Depository. So it's for our kids to also realize what we do is not just for all Muslims and we're supposed to be by ourselves, but you go back and help out the community that you
So this helps to clear up some of the misconceptions about because they know you. It's not like a secretive place. I mean, have you found that these days you've been under some increased scrutiny? People want to come and look at your curriculum and look at your books and see what you're teaching.
Even 2 years ago, a big thing, the Daily Herald threw out something.
And that's a big, and the Daily Herald as well.
Daily Herald is one of the newspapers in New York where they wrote up some article regarding do Islamic schools teach hate. Then one of our local stations called WGN decided to say, wanted to find out, what about the Islamic schools in Chicago?
Yeah.
From all the Islamic schools in the United States, about 200 of them, there's 10 in Chicago. Chicago has the most Islamic schools. Right. So they came here saying, okay, we want to see your books. Do they teach hate? And we sat down, had an interview with them, explained to them and said, what they're worried about the madrasa system, or they stuff heard of overseas and saying, okay, is that the same thing that's happening here? Are they teaching them intolerance? And so what we try to show the programs that we do, from academic competitions with public schools and non-public schools to service activities with public schools and non-public schools, that, hey, our kids, we work with them. And through that, we are ongoing things, even at our school. We do pen pal systems. Our first graders have a pen pal with someone in London.
Yes.
And our fifth graders have a pen pal with another Jewish school. Where we want to have kids to feel that, look, the idea of Muslims does not mean we are American Muslims.
Right.
And I myself born here, like, I feel I'm American, but at the same time, just like anyone's American, born, but they might have their own nationality or culture.
You mentioned the number of Muslim schools here in Chicago, and we have many resources, but they're scattered about. Is there any interaction between the schools to kind of share resources and kind of pool the knowledge base which you have?
Yes, that's I think what makes Chicago unique. We have every 2 months, all the principals, we meet together. We have a meeting every 2 months. And then
okay, I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt you, but you look actually quite young, and you're a principal of a school.
Yes.
And I want to ask you, how did you ascend to being a principal? It seems rather quick to meet a principal who is so young.
Yeah, I think I myself, through a young age, I was in a lot of leadership programs, even at the university level. I played high school, I played college ball, so even there I was like the captain of the team. And then also I did a lot of programs, like service programs, from the MSA to also like the university leadership programs. Also where I won a few student leadership awards. Right. So kind of as I was teaching, I was doing my master's in school administration, kind of speed up the process. So hopefully when I was teaching in Detroit, opening came up, one of the assistant principals was leaving, kind of applied for it, got in there, and then started just, keep on reading.
But let me ask you, why did you want to be a principal of the Islamic school?
Because I myself grew up in the community, growing up here, I went to the weekend schools, and sometimes kids would always complain, Sunday school was so boring, our religion, and these uncles trying to teach to us. And I said, one is to complain, or you want to be proactive and try to have solutions. And I felt that I like working with kids, and to really go ahead and say, I could go to public school and say, let's make the money. But if to really kind of say, look, I feel that there's a strong need for Islamic schools, but at the same time, there are need to come and try to make changes and see how to make it better. Right. And so that's where I felt that, the commitment, and then hopefully that there's only a few jobs where hopefully you get paid in this world and hopefully in the hereafter.
And
that's where I'm hoping for, that guy will hopefully give me some.
Inshallah. About the networking of the Muslim schools here in Chicago.
Yes, sir. Now, for the networking, so what we do is every 2 months we meet. All the Islamic, the principals of all the Islamic schools we meet. Then we set up programs. So every year there's 3 academic competitions we do. So one like this year we had like a literature bowl. We had a math bowl, so all these Islamic schools compete against each other. And then also we have one Islamic studies. Like, so if this year was Quran competition, so next will be Islamic studies bowl, where you have Islamic studies questions, and each team schools compete with each other. Sometimes we blend the teams together just to get the competition, just the brotherhood.
But when you have this competition, do you invite people from outside the Islamic or non-Muslim people to come and to witness these things?
Yeah, we have sometimes local newspapers just to kind of see what's happened. So it's a constant going thing. And then in the starting of the school year, we have just like this conference, we have a conference just for our Islamic schools, for other teachers to come together just to network with each other.
I noticed that you have one session when you have a topic of what the education system, how it should support the student outside of the school walls. And I want you to talk a bit about that, because it really is important for Muslim educators to understand the environment of the students to really be able to tailor your teaching method to be most effective.
And the big thing for me is that educating beyond the classroom, because one is, yes, you could teach Islamic studies, but if you really want kids to have the implementation, we feel like we need to start doing programs after school too. So we have quite a bit of programs. We have stuff like where we have like the Hifl Fudul Charity Alliance, who do the service projects together in the community, the canned food drive. We have our kids go and work with kids at Malloy, who have physical handicap. Because if kids can work with things who are the same age as them but have physical handicaps or learning disabilities, and they might be 16 years old but have a mind of a 7-year-old, it makes them reflect and see the blessings of God Almighty, of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. And at the same time, when we have programs like in the Nasheed Club, where the kids still have some form of entertainment, at the same time praising Allah, that's an opportunity. We also give them, from the clubs like Home Economics, Nasheed Club, Speech and Drama, all these, like, we have kids where they can do skits, and then we have value of the month every month, and so kids do skits on that value. So this is where they can have the opportunity to excel in other hobbies that they like, but at the same time express themselves in an Islamic way. Yeah,
because of course they're kids and they're young people, and they have to have some kind of outlet, halal output to channel their energy.
And so that's why we try to go ahead and do that. And then also we take them to we took them to UIC, like a college basketball game. We took them to the White Sox, like a baseball game. And when we go there, and when there's prayer time, we have to stop to the side. So these kids are like, wait a minute, even when we're in a public area, that there's still a way that how you can still practice your faith. And so we were trying to put them out in the open, and not just say, okay, it's only for those 45 minutes is religion, and after that it's nothing. But if you can make them in their daily lives understand that how religion encompasses every part of you, and you can still have fun and play and stuff, but there's just some limits that God has.
But let me ask you about Islamic education in general. We talked a bit about the Chicago school system, but here in America, how important is it to put Muslim children in an environment where they can get a secular education and balance that with Islamic education?
I think it's more important, because I've realized something, that as my generation grows up, what some of our parents have done, where they were, times have changed. There's a lot more going on. There's more internet chat rooms. There's so much bombardment of things going, where even when I was there, for you to even check out something, it was hard to do. Now on the internet, to just music, TV has just made things so open and so relaxed, that I think it has come to a time that that to have where at least an environment where kids could go through school and still be active in other activities. No one's saying not to, participate, because there's lots to offer. That America has to offer great opportunities here. But at the same time, just for the basic faith of that foundation, can many of the new generation do the same what our parents did, and kind of instilling that, keeping it going, and realizing that, hey, as our generation, can we keep up that same passing the torch of the faith? And I think Islamic schools will give that base, that foundation, to strengthen the kids' bonds, understand who they really are, so when they go ahead and deal with society and deal with other things, they know when things are looking tough, where to fall back on. And the way to fall back on is Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala.
And what do you see? I mean, what are your objectives in your school for the future of Islamic education? Where would you like to see your school 10 years from now?
We want it to become like just elite schools, just like any other private schools, where people, Muslims and non-Muslims, want to come to. It's just like like many of my friends have gone to Catholic schools, because why? They have great environment, great education, and great programming. And that's the focus of the religion. The school, the Islamic school, is the same thing, to have a great academic base, a religious base and after-school activities where even, hey, for Muslims and non-Muslims, you know, we have a lot of teachers who are non-Muslims, but we would love to have even students who want to be like, you know what?
Oh, tell me about that. You said you have students in your school who are not Muslims?
We have teachers. We have a few teachers who are non-Muslims. We've only had, I think there are a few Islamic schools. We do have 2 or 3. You know, we have a lot of parents who are one's like father's Muslim, mom's non-Muslim. So, but that. For right now, in our school, we haven't had.
Do you get any feedback from the teachers who are not Muslim of how they like working in your class?
They've felt that, you know, for them, especially if they run in a public school, they realize that kids are well behaved. You know, I mean, they just have a circumstance, but I think, you know, to compare and contrast, you know, you don't have too many of the other social problems. I mean, the kids do have them. No one's going to deny the Islam schools, oh, this is great. I mean, there's issues. There's going to be problems. But I think it's easier controlled. There's a lot more, you know, there are going to be little problems here and there, but not to some extent as could be in some public sector schools. Okay,
well, Habib, inshallah, you'll have success, you know, as a Muslim educator and helping to nurture the young minds of the Muslims. And I appreciate you taking time to sit with us.
No, thank you so much, man.
No, thank you. Assalamu alaikum.